Hi, welcome to SHOWstudio's live panel discussions. In these discussions, experts from all parts of the industry discuss and debate the most important Fashion Week shows of the season. So today, in the midst of London Fashion Week, we're going to be discussing the Fashion East show. I have a wonderful selection of panellists. We have Bryant, we have Jack, we have Hatti, and I will let them introduce themselves.
Hey, I'm Bryant, and I'm the senior buyer for Machine A.
Hi, I'm Jack. I'm a dancer, actor, and freelance model.
Hi, my name's Hatti Rees, and I'm an artist, makeup artist, and a beauty editor for Love Digital.
Great. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Charlotte Roberts, and I'm a stylist. So were any of you actually at the Fashion East show this morning?
No.
Yeah?
I wasn't. I was so sad of it. It looked absolutely stunning.
How was it? How was the atmosphere at the show?
I feel like people are naturally really excited to come and see the Fashion East shows because it's just like the crucible of talent, isn't it? A new idea and the new generation. So I feel like people were just standing to watch at the back.
Yeah.
All the seats were full. Everyone just obviously lives to come and watch.
What did you think, Brian?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, they always have, even last season, Ancuta did like a shoe presentation before the show actually started. So this time she did do it again, and it was like really nice. And for me, Fashion East is like one of the shows I always look forward to. I always love to discover new designers and then pick them up for the season because Lulu's really good with choosing all the new designers. And this year, the 5 designers are amazing.
Yeah. How do we feel like these 5 designers compare to kind of the previous Fashion East crop? I think it always seems to evolve. There's definitely the kind of Fashion East market, and there's similarities and I think nice narrative threads between some of the designers. There's echoes of Charlotte Knowles in some of these and things like that. Was there a particular standout for you?
I could be a bit biased, but I love Goom.
Yeah.
She's amazing. I mean, we did a graduate project with her from her MA collection, and then we launched it last year at Machine A. So I personally really love her. But I also love Ancuta. I think her shoes are amazing. So yeah, but 2 of those designers I love.
You guys?
I loved Goom personally because of just the textures that she had within her clothes, and I really, really loved it. But for me, it was definitely Saul. As a dancer myself, I really loved that merge of choreography and fashion because I think it then really has a story to tell, and it felt very naturally the way that the dancers actually were moving on the runway felt very masculine, very powerful, but also quite predatory. But the clothes just kind of had this movement, which it just did everything justice. It was really, really beautiful.
Yeah, it kind of highlighted the functionality because they were ripping bits off almost, but then it sort of started looking quite aggressive, but then ended almost that they were finalising the look, so to speak, which was very clever.
Absolutely. There was a masculinity and as you just said, but then there was also a softness to it, but a bizarre sort of softness. I can't really put my finger on the word, but it had this almost juxtaposed kind of powerful masculine, but then soft side as well, which just for me blew my mind.
It made it very calm. Basically, when you first when the models first walk, they're more their heads are looking down and stuff, and they look very gloomy. And then when the dancers really bringing them up, they have a fresh air coming out. And they're and then they're walking, and it feels like they're more confident. So it's it's kind of showing that teamwork is once you're part of a group, and then you guys bring each other up, and then you'll be great again.
Yeah, absolutely. Very empowering in that sense. Really loved it.
Who was your highlight?
Well, I always just love Gareth.
Yeah.
For me, Gareth just blows my mind with what he does. His brain is insane. Some of his ideas that he comes up with just crazy. I'm always really excited and fascinated to see what he's doing with all of it. For example, today, one of the dresses he made was out of dental floss. They did a mini, kind of looked like mohair crop top, and it was made out of his actual hair.
Wow.
So many small, crazy details, and then he did this beautiful jumper that was part of his BA collection, which he didn't actually show, or maybe it was his MA, I'm not sure, but then he obviously brought that out today, and I just but some of the application for the textiles, for me, it's just like so rich and sumptuous and exciting, like, and so much, like, there's really like an anomic feeling about the textiles as well, because they have so many like found objects in them and like things that add to the narrative of what Gareth's trying to say about digital culture and gamers. So I think it's,
And that's
always
so
fascinating.
brave.
And the beauty looks as well, like what Terry does is just like, I was like there backstage just like watching like, oh my God, him just doing like
images of the Gareth.
so good, so good.
It's so brave and bold and just so creative. Like you can
so
really see
creative.
like his brain just going, and it's almost quite emphatic and emotive in that sense. It's just like, this is what I'm putting myself into in this collection. Just so clever.
I think it's just really joyful as well, and there's a lot of, I think you've kind of got to be like joyful and creative and expressing yourself, or sellable, or kind of find a happy medium. But I just love, it's so joyful, like.
I think the fact that he's very self-referential also quite early on in his career is interesting. It almost, like you say, it was a kind of continuation of, I think, his MA show, LBA show, where he kind of cuts and pastes, which is interesting as well, considering his kind of references from digital culture, where it all just becomes this like meta point of reference. And also, obviously, sustainability was a huge topic within this particular crop of designers, and has been on a more kind of global scale anyway. Do you guys have any thoughts on kind of sustainability within the fashion industry?
I think, firstly, thank God, in you know, to put it bluntly. But also, that's great that designers, you know, are able to kind of, you know, get things from other designers. Who was it that was telling me the other day? I think it was Joshua James Small, who was presenting at the showroom yesterday for his collection. He was saying, oh, I was able to get, you know, some lace materials, you know, from people at Alexander McQueen. That's so good. It's like, it's recycling, and then you're able to make it into your own thing. Like, perfect. That's such a good way of making new clothes. And reinventing things. Brilliant.
Well, like I said already, like in terms of the textiles and like the rich things that Gareth's doing, like for example, those knickers on the right are made out of maggots.
They're made out of maggots?
Yeah, they're like little worms and little
Can we zoom
maggots
in on
and
that?
stuff. It's just crazy, like the amount, and then obviously so much is upcycled and stuff as well. And then, like I said about the dental floss and stuff. So, and I think that's why I've mentioned it, because it seems like a really like powerful, confident way of offering sustainable, the possibilities of sustainable processes, which because we always just think about. I mean, haven't McQueen just launched that new initiative where they're going to donate fabric to Westminster and stuff? But like, this is a whole new thing for me, and I really just relate to this a lot. And I think everyone should be
actually, because it feels quite earthy and quite environmentalist in that way as well. Like, okay, with the maggots, that's a fascinating thing.
That's the dental floss.
That's his hair, that top on the right, that one,
Okay.
Wow.
Crazy, isn't it?
That's amazing.
I mean, the casting was also
the casting,
always brilliant.
Impeccable.
And I think especially, for the dancers as well, they were also beautifully cast.
Yeah, absolutely. They're all amazing movers. You could really sense the emotion as well that they were bringing to the collection. And I think also from Saul, dancer to dancer, it must have been very easy for him to explain in terms of what he wanted for choreography and the idea behind it, and then to, put the dancers in those clothes and translate that all onto the runway. It just seemed very seamless.
That bottom left one is the dental floss.
Can we scroll down to the bottom left one?
That's apparently dental floss.
Wow.
Yeah.
My God.
A couple of my friends
Can we zoom in on that even further? I really would love to see the way that is.
Yeah, a couple of my friends were helping for this and told me about this stuff today. It's just crazy because you would just never know, would you? So.
No. Also, I think the fact that I know that he did styling, I think really feeds into his looks as well, because it's quite interesting. A lot of, I mean, it happens, designers and stylists kind of do become interchangeable, but there's such a distinct look from him that I don't think we've seen maybe for quite a long time. Matty obviously is a maybe natural-ish comparison in terms of the Fashionista alumni, but other than that, I think he's very brave and almost the fashion, because his pieces almost come across as art, it's quite interesting seeing them in a more traditional runway show, because as you say, you wouldn't necessarily know kind of history or the references in the garments, which is kind of interesting. It's very good.
I mean, Saul Nash was just, it was like so fresh. And that, yeah, like you said, treading that line and that dichotomy between fragility and softness and stereotypical and archetypal masculinity, and that treading that dichotomy was quite like, and then like you said, when they came out with the heads kind of bowed irreverently, and then they kind of all came together in a unison, was kind of really, yeah, it was really enchanting to watch as a collective group.
A little bit to where Saul's collection is, just a little bit further, because I really loved the kind of neutral tones within that. The blacks and the whites, they were simple but very effective, for me at least.
Definitely.
And I loved the way that the garments were pieced together. Like their structure's really nice.
I think what he had was the element of surprise for me. I wasn't personally familiar with his work, but it felt like an element of surprise with the movement, with the choreography, with each individual persona that each model had.
Love that middle one just
and then
there.
also the transformative properties of the garments.
Yeah.
I noticed that one of, I think maybe it was the closing look when it all unzipped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very strong.
With the blue.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was beautiful.
So I think he really had the element of surprise, and he really captivated the whole room. Everyone was just like, it was really, it was really powerful.
Well, it was
It's
more.
just so elegant, which is often not a kind of word you would associate with like traditional sportswear aesthetic.
Yeah, no, it's true, you wouldn't, but this
It's amazing.
really fits it.
I mean, the dancers just make it like much more powerful when you have like his clothing, which is like very technical, which is like something that you don't really see from the runway. I mean, you look at a runway, you don't really see like all the little bits that go into it, but when you have a dancer like really like moving with the clothes, really like taking it off, putting it on and everything, it like moves really well for the collection and it brings it to life. Because otherwise, if you just see on the runway without all this movement, it would just look like, you know, a hoodie or like a tracksuit. But with the dancing, it just like makes so much sense. And of course, for Saul, he's like a dancer, so it's like very like, natural to him.
And I feel that you can see his thought process as well, that he's putting it into the clothes. You can clearly think it's just like, oh, I want to put this on a dancer's body. How am I going to translate this? How do I make sure that they move with ease? And you can clearly see that. I almost imagine that like the whole runway was taking place on like some kind of serene setting, like a cloud or something. It seems very floaty, like very spacious. Maybe that's not the right word. In fact, I don't know if that is the right word at all. But that's just what pops into my head. I mean, it really, really.
And it was very spacious. Like the runway was like very wide.
Yeah, very
like,
wide.
Dance as wild as he wanted to.
Yeah, and even at one stage, I loved when they came together, the dancers, and they were all in a circle. It felt very predatory because there was one dancer in the middle, but then I had just like this kind of serene moment, and I
think bringing back that sort of theatricality to shows is nice. Obviously, we've had the like 10-year anniversary of McQueen of late, and obviously everyone's been kind of posting the iconic shows, and I think a space like Fashion East that's why it's so important to have this space for that kind of dynamic, interesting shows that doesn't necessarily have to feed the kind of commerciality that the other ones definitely do.
Yeah. And it makes fashion like so much more fun because like, you know, most fashion shows, obviously the whole point of it is to sell a collection. It's like for the press to write about it, for the buyers to buy it, for everything. But for Fashion East, it's still kind of like, you know, it's still kind of like that bubble where like when you're in school, that's the time that you can like experiment, you can fuck up, you can do whatever you want. And Fashion East lets you do that. And like the designers can do that. They have the freedom to do it. Because once you come out as a brand, it's very hard to do all this like playful pieces anymore because people see you as a whole business. And like at the end of the day, you have to like make money. And if you're not making money, then your business won't thrive. So Fashion East is like a great platform for like the young designers to still like, even after your BA or MA collections, you can still play and be like playful for like 2-3 seasons, and then when you come out and like really launch yourself as a brand, then people will be like, oh, taking you seriously at that point.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's interesting seeing the designers that have come out of Fashion East, obviously quite recently brands like Asai,
Yes.
who have done really well, but also have managed to maintain that creativity. I think the show that I was very impressed about with Fashion East was it was Asai, it was Charlotte Knowles, it was the one time Simmons Pirmaine, I think, showed. And there was 5 designers again, and it was like a really dynamic, exciting show. And I think this is kind of up to par with that for sure. Because also mixing the shows, not having separate menswear and womenswear shows, I think, again, feeding into the sustainability question is a great way of doing it. And as I think Lulu said in one of her interviews, instead of having a show in January, then in February, why not just like condense all the energies into one mega one? And as we say, like gender's been a massive topic in terms of the women's wear, menswear kind of division of shows, and male, female, they all walk in each show. So I don't think it needs to be this kind of defined separation anymore.
I completely agree with you. I think it feels like a really strong and pragmatic and kind of energetic move to combine. And it just feels right. I feel like it feels like it was meant to always be like this as a collective. And then what just further reinforces that, like the sense of the group of all of the designers together as this collective is like the people we're talking about have established their own, like with Saul Nash, created their own sense of like a collective consciousness through the movement and through the models interacting as a group, and then the same with the other designers, just really this feeling, of like togetherness.
Yeah.
And I think that's also really joyful.
What did you guys think about the kind of putting the menswear and womenswear shows all together?
I really like it, actually, because I think there's this now, I think there's more of a universal sense of casting.
Yes.
Instead of it being, this is Men's Fashion Week, this is Women's Wear Fashion Week. Because, okay, yes, you can still have some menswear items or women's wear items in either fashion weeks. But I think now, and with the whole idea of gender and putting that into place as well, I think it's nicer to have a collection where the clothes kind of appeal to anyone. Like I've seen so many pieces where I could just go where they're women's wear pieces and I go, well, I'd love to wear that.
Yeah.
But then again, there's still kind of I feel that there's still a boundary in our society where we're still told, but you can't wear that, that's women's wear. But I'm just going, do you know what? Fuck it. Like if I want to wear that, it's because I really like the item.
I think it's interesting from a styling perspective, and we'll talk about it like from your buying perspective as well, is there are some brands that still are very strict about their policy. If you're if you send out a request saying that you're shooting models, they would ask men or women, and then if they send you menswear looks, they're like, well, you can't shoot on, and vice versa. Not all of them, a lot of them have been more flexible of late, but I think the fact that it's still so staunch like that is very strange.
This is what I was going to say for like Bryant, because I know like some people I know have spoken to me about like the differences between women's fashion week, and it's someone I know who's a designer said it's to do with buying, like it has to happen at those specific times of year for the buyers.
I mean, I think like obviously a lot of traditional brick and mortar stores or like big department stores, they have to have a men's and women's division because they're buying like so much at that specific time. If you like put them all together, then like it's just like way too much during one season and it's like doesn't make sense. And also the women's and men's, I think it's just more like a calendar way, but I think like for London, like them doing genderless things is like the perfect thing to do because I think people nowadays are so like, they're like getting used to like the genderless idea. And like Emma Sheena, we're like super genderless. Like we really don't care about gender. And like we literally mix all of our merchandise. So there's no like men's or women's section. And even with Goom's collection, I mean, it's menswear, but it's like, a woman could totally wear it, but it's like really cool menswear pieces that like make you feel confident. Like I have a few Goom pieces and they're like so tight, but that flowy bit of fabric, it just makes you feel like, ooh, I'm so fabulous. Like I'm like, ooh, girl. I'm like, like this suit, this gray suit with a purple bit. Oh my God,
good.
I like need it. I'm like, Goom, I need that.
Wasn't it the first season that she put female models in? I think she might have said.
This is her first season with female models, but like, it just makes it so much more wearable as well,
Yeah,
because like
it's
then
gorgeous.
girls can understand, oh, I can wear it too, because like
Yeah.
a lot of people be like, oh, Goom's a menswear brand. They're like, oh, it's a menswear brand. I'm like, no, but you can wear it too. Like we
Yeah.
have size small for you. And she's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. But then like you kind of have to like still educate the clients, because like the clients are like, where's the women's wear? Where's the men's wear? And we're like, we kind of mix everything. And then they're like, okay. And then they're like, but we just normally, in terms of buying, we buy like a size range, so that,
Right.
you know, if a woman wants to wear it, then they can wear it. If men wants to wear it, they can wear it.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, it's like the size issue.
Do we think it's more of a conversation that's happening more prevalently in London, or, I mean, New York as well, for sure?
London and New York for sure,
yeah.
like genderless. Yeah.
Paris
I think
and
London
Milan?
more so. Paris and Milan, I feel they're still very traditional in their sense of fashion week, you know.
I mean, it's very
big
serious.
designers, yeah.
It's very serious, you know, like it's like, oh, I mean, Paris, like Margiela is like super genderless, you know,
Yeah.
with the co-ed collections and stuff.
But
like,
Margiela's almost like a world of its own.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
like doing their own thing.
Yeah.
But then how can this trickle down to the average consumer who maybe like they don't feel comfortable? I know there's probably the vast majority of people would not want to. Do you think this will eventually change? Do
I
you see what
hope
I'm
so.
saying?
I really hope so, because I think even so, like some consumers may still be completely in the dark of like the idea of having genderless clothes, if you know
Yeah.
what I mean.
I think it would be really. I think for some consumers, it's like a terrifying concept.
Yeah.
But I know, like obviously, we live in a world where we all just.
I think the minute it trickles down to the high street, which it has done, definitely, is that, well, that's it. Like, it's commercial, essentially, which isn't a bad thing, because that's how it has to get out there. In terms of, I guess the cultural landscape has changed, because, I mean, do you remember when, like, David Beckham was caught wearing a sarong, and there was, like, a huge uproar about it, because it was like, he's a footballer in a skirt, like, what? We can't do that. And that was, I don't know, 10 years ago? And now, I don't even think mainstream media would pick up the story in quite the same way. I mean, you've got someone like Kanye, who was from like the hip hop world, and he was on stage wearing like Margiela skirts over trousers, and that at the time was quite radical. And now you've got like Lil Nas, and you've got like all these rappers in genderless or gender fluid clothes. Even for someone like that coming out as gay, like 10 years ago wouldn't have been
Yeah, agreed.
okay.
I feel like we've still just got such a long way to go in terms of people embracing and accepting gender expression and fluidity and experimenting and playing with identity and feeling that freedom. I feel like we've still got such a long way to go.
I mean, there's definitely like progress though. I mean, like, you know, with like art school, you know, it's like such an amazing like brand, you know, it's all about this inclusivity and like genderless and everything of that sort. And I think like with Fashion East, it just really brings that to like another level. I mean,
Definitely.
at Fashion East, there's like literally all the biggest press, all the biggest buyers are there. You know, everyone's looking at who the next designer is. And like, if this kind of show have like this huge, how do I say, like so many people are like watching into it and like really,
kudos,
like really looking into it, then
Yeah.
like it's already a good step, you know? Like obviously you cannot change the world like in 1 second, but like I feel like with Fashion East and all of these like different up and coming brands, like, especially on Instagram, you know how there's a lot of like really cool collectives nowadays,
Yeah.
and it's like there's like different like there's a huge following and it's very niche, but in the future I think people will start to know about it, but like, I think right now it's still like progressing really quickly.
Yeah, and I think also the braver the fashion, like within the collections and the shows, the bolder people will be with their choices and what they want to wear. And there will definitely, you know, trends will then start to form, and then it will definitely become more, what's the word? More known, and people will become more comfortable with it, because I still think that some people are very uncomfortable with it, which is sad because why not? There are so many great items that you
I
know.
know. I'm literally wearing a dress, like this
Yeah,
Margiela
well, hi,
dress.
can I borrow it?
And, over trousers, but it's like amazing. I was in love with this print, and I was like, oh, will Margiela do it in a top? And they're like, no, that's not available in a top. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just get this dress then, because I mean, it's fine.
Well, why
like, you just
not?
put a
It's
sweater on
fun,
top, it's fun.
and yeah, exactly.
And even if I do wear it as a dress, I'm like,
Exactly.
And that's,
This is the
and that's
look.
the point of fashion, though.
Yeah.
It's just like, what can I create? Because also, I think a lot of people tend to forget, you know, aside from all the brands and the marketing and how it's going to look on people on the street, you know, fashion is art.
Yeah.
Like, and this is what, you know, Fashionista does a brilliant job of doing. You know, it is literally, they are enabling these artists to show their collections in a very, very, you know, good way.
And they always make it so fun and like exciting, and like you're like, you wake up and you're like, oh, there's a good show to go to, you know?
Yeah,
Like, you're like, oh, I'm excited. Like, you know, like I'm not just like going to a show. It's like you're going to Fashionista and you're definitely gonna find something you like. Yeah, you're definitely gonna, because like with Fashionista, it's good that they don't just have one style.
Yeah.
Like, they have like this genderless style, and then they have like those very like cool, like
Sportswear.
recycled, sustainable shoes, sportswear, and then like the really funky, like, you know, Gareth's world and stuff. So it's like interesting to like see a spectrum of different designs, and Fashionista definitely is
I
doing
really
it right.
agree with you. I think Lulu's really just curated such a diverse, exciting mixture here, because I feel like she's really offering us like a bit of everything we want, if that makes sense.
100%.
No, it's
I think she's done like an amazing, like everyone here this year is
It's just
amazing.
like a fashion feast, and it's all
Yeah,
there.
it really
You've got,
is.
literally, you've got, you know, your starters and your, well, not starters and main course, but, you know, different foods. It's just like, oh, what can I have here? And it's just so flavorful with
I'd
the
love to
whole
see some of the
presentation.
designers, like in terms of which fashion houses they might get picked up by. Obviously, previously there's been Kim Jones and there's been Martine Rose, who have all worked at big designer houses. I mean, someone like Gareth going to one of the Paris fashion houses and shaking it up would be
I
kind
can't
of
wait
amazing.
to see that happen, because I think it would just make everything so much more exciting.
Do you predict that's like end game then, or do you think?
I think it's interesting in terms of what the previous designers have done. You've got, like as I said, Kim Jones and Martine Rose kind of ilk. And then you've also got your like Claire Barrows and Nazir Mazar, who have kind of, they're still involved in fashion, but they've gone about it. They've also thought about sustainability, and Claire does kind of art shows now, or she'll do more one-off pieces. And then you've obviously got Ashley, who still shows. So I think it's interesting looking at the different directions they've gone in. But yeah, I think for sure, I mean, the big houses, and look at Fashion East and are thinking about it. I guess they're so young still in their careers. But then, I mean, McQueen went to Givenchy when he was like 28 or something.
Yeah.
So I just think it would be quite interesting to see who would go where, especially out of this current crop.
Definitely. I could definitely imagine Saul doing a collaboration with a big sports brand or something.
Yeah. Well, Nike is like heavily involved in the, obviously provides all the footwear.
Yeah. Which is really, I just love that. But then I also love...
It's quite early Helmut Lang, those particular three, a little bit. Could be quite interesting.
Yeah.
Is there a favourite look either any of you have from this? A standout one?
I think for me it's definitely the ketchup and mustard Gareth look.
Yeah.
Just like how do you actually come up with that? It's just crazy refreshing
so
to me. I feel like I have like
Is it real
crazy
ketchup?
brain, and then I see this and I'm like, whoa, so much to
good.
learn.
When I first saw the hat,
And I'm like,
I
what
was
does
just
the
like, oh my
writing
God, is that Bugs
say?
Bunny? Like, I just love it. It's so quirky.
It's very gummo, the headpiece,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. So good. I would literally wear any of his collection. I just think that's just so unique.
I'm into the mohair crop.
Oh my
and the,
God.
like, jog
Yeah.
No, the Simpson hat. When I saw him with that, like, I don't know what that character's called from. Yeah, what is that character called? The guy who drives the bus?
Oh,
That hat is just like, what? How do you think of that?
His collection makes me want to literally go in with my hands and just touch everything. The textures
Right,
that are going
it's so
on are
tactile.
so rich.
It's so sumptuous and tactile and just like delicious. Just want everything.
it's funny that he's talking about digital culture, and then obviously with the bows and the ruffles, it's like almost quite Regency era. I quite like that juxtaposition. I mean, he's obviously done it on purpose. It's very clever. Bryant, do you have a key? What are you thinking from a buying perspective?
I mean, my favorite look, again, bias.
Yeah.
Goom's first look was like amazing. Like the
Let's go
tops,
and
like
see that.
literally, there's like these tops. Basically, they're like these really tight tops and like with the wiggly
Yeah.
bits. I think literally, these are gonna be like kind of like the bread and butter for her this season
Yeah.
because it's like super easy to wear. It can matches everything. You can wear it with a skirt. You can put it as a layering piece. You can wear it by itself. And like she did it in a few different colors. So I think like
smart.
it will be really good.
2020, please.
Yeah, it was kind of like referencing a little bit of Issey Miyake and everything, but I think she's doing it in a way that is very her.
Yeah.
And also, these kind of pieces are just like such easy sellers. Like, you have to think about it. For these small brands, like you have to have this one piece where it's just your bread and butter. You know, for Asai, it was like those hot walk tops. You know, like every store is gonna buy like 100 units, 200 units, or whatever, and like that's gonna sell to like the masses. And then like the more runway pieces are like so that the more fashion crowd loves it, or like you know. Collectors really buy into it, but for like these easy tops, and like they have to be at a good price point, and like these brands, if they have it, then their brand is successful because you have people buying your brand even if they're not in fashion.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if they're just like, you know, they just go to the shop and they're like, oh, this top is cute. And they're like, okay, I'll buy a little bit of it. It's not a lot of money, and you just like wear it. But then the more fashionable pieces, it's like for like the collectors, like people who really love fashion, who understand like why this piece is worth this much amount of money, because everything is like so like delicate and like beautiful and like handcrafted, and like I think the masses wouldn't understand that. You know, like you have to like have a product that's easy to sell, and I think that would be like probably the product. Hopefully it is.
I'm sure it will
Don't
be.
know the price yet. I don't know the price yet.
Like seeing them up close, the construction of those printed shirts and the way that they move on the body. There was one that was like just draped across the chest. The way that they like because of the construction of the pleats, they just bounce so beautifully when they're in movement. She's really clever at making garments that move beautifully, I think.
And her shoes. The shoes were
Yeah.
so fun. I'm like,
great.
she better produce them because like
I'll have
they're
them, please.
so cute.
Thank you.
They're literally so cute. And like she also had them in her MA collection, and it was like really nice. So, and she reintroduces again for this collection, and it just works really well. And it's like very signature to her brand. Like it's like this like pilgrim vibe. It's like an elf shoe, but it's very interesting. And I love all the styling and everything.
I love the top again on the right-hand side, like neutral tones, but it's almost kind of like, the patterning, it's just like got this kind of illusion to it, and it's very holographic. Like I
colours are
really love
beautiful.
it.
Construction's just crazy. Like when I saw
Good
them up
casting for that look as well.
close,
Stunning.
so
Yeah,
crazy.
I love it.
And I feel like she's really
Amazing.
kind of progressed and changed since the MA as well. Like there's so many new fabrics and new shapes, and she's not really like rested on her laurels. Kind of like there's still you could still it's so Goom.
Yeah.
But it's
So
like
Goom,
she's
yeah.
really like exploring new things, and
But
I
this-
feel like that was really exciting because then it's like, oh, what's she
She's
gonna do
only
next?
a year out of
Yeah.
her.
Yeah, crazy.
And this collection is also so much more wearable. I mean, like the one from MA is like very like tight, you know, it's like very body conscious. And this one just like works really well.
Definitely. It will be exciting to see who the newer crop as well is, because so this is Gareth's third season, we think.
I think it's his last.
Yeah, so it'll be his last, and then obviously these guys are new, so it will be interesting. I think potentially from the CS. Did any of you go to the CSM show on Friday night?
Yes.
How was that?
There was one designer that I loved, but I don't know her name.
What was the collection?
She was one of the winners.
Sarah?
Paulina?
Oh no, not Paulina didn't win. She was a Taiwanese designer, and she was amazing. Like the textiles were like so beautiful, and like, yeah, I definitely want to do something with her.
So she
I
could
felt
be
like
on
the
Louis'
collection was just
radar.
like so Marc Jacobs though. It was like, and like old Louis Vuitton. I felt like those hats were like, no tea, but like I was like not blown away. Like
We
obviously
haven't
it
had
was
any
really good.
shade yet. Here we come.
The print was the print.
This is the
No, the
best.
fabrication of her collection was so stunning
fabrication was
though.
so
Like the
beautiful, yeah.
like wow, and
there
the
was, like, this fuzzy
finishings.
dress that was like really cute.
Yeah, that was really strong.
Well, guys, do we have any last thoughts on the show? Any closing statements? Any conclusions?
I just thought a very, very well constructed show. And you could see the designers' personalities all the way through. and very diverse and rich in their own artistries.
So we all just really like the show.
Yeah.
It was definitely my favourite one that I've seen for the last few seasons or more. Definitely. Most memorable, like so many strong looks. Everything just seemed like so well curated and executed, just like, wow.
Because last season they only showed 2 designers because she said that not everyone was quite ready yet. And I think even though at the time obviously that was kind of like maybe a slightly radical move or people will, but I think the fact that she did wait and let them kind of ruminate a little bit more has obviously proved to be successful.
I mean, I think you have to do that because like you can only launch your brand once.
Yes.
And if you like do your first collection and like it's like the one that everyone's gonna see and it doesn't do well, then you know.
Exactly.
You don't want to like.
You need to let it incubate properly before
like,
you launch
You have to have an
onto the
amazing
world.
collection before you launch it.
Yeah, that one's made out of baby makeup wipes. That
Which
one.
the white top.
Yes, that's
Who did
makeup
that? I
wipes.
think I was listening to something earlier. I think it was from Georgina, who's the fashion editor here. She had spoken with Gareth backstage, and it was just like, it has that biscuity kind of smell.
Yeah, I smelt it.
Yeah, really.
I smelt
Like
it.
old foundation.
Yeah.
Nice.
But very clever and quirky, to be frank.
Yeah. I think on that note, we will close the panel. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the panellists and thank you all for watching. For more extensive Fashion Week coverage, be sure to visit showstudio.com. And if you're watching via Show Studio's YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe below. And we will see you next time. Thank you.